Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I'm going to be taking a patron request where I relinquish control and find out through assignment what movie I'm going to be watching and reviewing today. And the film in question is the 2022 release of Revealer, currently available on Shudder. This was a request by patron Jackie. And according to Jackie, she picked this one because, she says, I'm interested in watching this myself based on the description. This will be a good motivation for me to follow through. So it sounds like it's more testing the waters, seeing if it's worth the watch more than actually recommending a film that had already previously been watched. Fair enough. I can take that on. And take that on I did. Written and directed by Luke Boyce, as well as written by Michael Morici and Tim Seeley. This movie follows a stripper that is basically working her operation in a nudie booth of a porno shop. She's making ends meet. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of shame in what she does. She's simply just, that's her profession. She's making the grind while fellas sit on the other side of the glass. Things tend to get pretty darned complicated for her, though, when certain events start kind of crashing down all around her. Number one is a religious protester that is frequently outside of this porno shop and harassing people that are trying to go in, is running for her life inside and taking refuge. There seems to be some sort of ill-defined cataclysmic event happening outside that's causing all sorts of weather patterns and hairy-carry and murderous what have yous happening. And to make things even worse, our main character of Angie is now stuck inside her professional booth. The door won't open, it is jammed, and she is having to work with this religious protester of Sally to try and figure out a way out. So one of the first things that I noticed by going to the IMDb page is that this has a 4.4 rating with less than 1,000 views, and this seems to be getting pretty well shit on. I'm noticing that the top review just has the title of awful and says, I sincerely hope that after this, the writers and actors have already secured their jobs at McDonald's. That's all I have to say about this piece of trash. Wow. Now, my response to this would be one of my more frequent mantras. If you watch this channel with any regularity, I'm sure you've heard me say it more than once. Watch more bad movies. Heck, I even sell merch with the saying on it. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one, I think that it really kind of helps in terms of taking those risks and finding those hidden gems. If you're watching a movie that's, out on Tubi that very few people have seen and it kind of looks like trash, sometimes there's a hidden gem in there. They'll actually find something good that just other people haven't yet talked about. And then you can actually be the one to present that to them, suggest that to them. I've come across countless wonderful hidden gems that went under the radar until I brought them to other people's attention. And the only reason that I did that was because I was willing to take the risk on potentially a bad movie. And another reason is, and I think this would be fairly equally applicable in this case, would be I think it's important to kind of recalibrate your thought processes on good and bad. When a mainstream horror movie comes out that may not be the most inspired, best thing in the world with the most intense scares possible, but is still an entertaining journey. I'm kind of thinking of a few examples here, but I'll leave those off the table for the moment. I think it's important to kind of recalibrate things because I hear so often people talk about those as worst movie ever. I'm not saying that what people say is good or bad or what they like or dislike is right or wrong. It's a matter of opinion. And the fact is, all of our opinions, whether they be the same as each other or counter to one another, and we disagree, it's where we find the spice of life. It's where we kind of come together and recognize our similarities and our differences. There's nothing inherently right or wrong, but I tend to kind of take a little bit of umbrage when somebody says movies like Halloween Kills or Malignant is the worst movie they've ever seen, or the best movie they've ever seen, especially when they aren't willing to take those risks on truly awful films. Don't come at me with Halloween Kills is the worst movie ever if you haven't seen Amityville, Mount Misery Road, The Dread Ratlin, or Broken Triangle. I'm not a big fan of gatekeeping, but at the same time, you don't know my pain. So all of that is to say, and I apologize that I'm kind of going the long way around on this, my verbosity can know no bounds occasionally, is I thought that Revealer was a fun, serviceable, kind of entertaining movie, not a whole lot of meat to it, but at the same time, I enjoyed it. So let's break down exactly why that is. geez, I mean, how many minutes into this? And for finally getting to the actual review, there's a couple things in play here. Number one, this was set in the 80s, and I know I just covered the whole thing about nostalgia and Stranger Things and so on. And I would have to say that this kind of falls on the positive end of that. This happened to be set in the 80s, but for the most part, it really wasn't like shining bright lights on that fact. It wasn't a gimmick at all. It just simply was the setting. So for that, I don't understand why they did it, but it really didn't detract from the movie. As far as the apocalyptic, cataclysmic event that was going on, it kind of remained ill-defined. There was a lot of conversations that was especially sparked by the Sally character, who, being the religious fanatic that she was obviously tapping into the book of Revelations and declaring that this was the rapture, the biblical events of the end times. And that led to a lot of the conflict that was happening between the two characters as they're trying to figure out a way around this. And there was always kind of that interesting aspect of this film with both immediate issues that were going on, as well as, I would say, more of the medium to long-term issues. Yes, they're trapped in this little, porno thing, this booth. So how do they get out? But moreover, even when they do get out, to what future? To what end? I mean, everything is red, thunderous, cloudy skies around with seemingly monsters and all sorts of really bad stuff happening. So they make their way out of this booth, and then what? It makes for an interesting kind of thought process and conversation as they're going through this. And I don't really want to spoil anything because this is a movie that I would recommend. Jackie, if you are watching this, I do recommend it. I do think that this is worth a watch. I just don't think that it's something that is going to be blowing anybody's minds. It's not incredibly thought-provoking. A lot of the moral questioning that's happening between the surface level sinner of the stripper and the diehard religious fanatic is kind of I don't know, it's a little bit low-hanging fruit. There's not a whole lot there beyond surface level as they kind of come together and try to find some middle ground in working with each other. And, for that, I thought that it wasn't bad. I've definitely seen deeper conversations. This is the kind of religious, theological banter that you might expect coming out of high school or freshman year of college. There's not going to be anything really that deep happening, but it can still make for interesting characters and interesting viewing, and I think that that's pretty much where Revealer shines brightest. So if you're in the mood for some popcorn fare that's really not going to have anything too awful deep in it but still be entertaining enough, I really can't recommend Revealer enough. I thought it was most definitely a halfway decent horror movie, and in the world of cinema, sometimes we just want to, pop up a bag of popcorn, kick up our feet, toss on Shudder, and just watch something that's halfway decent. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close this review out. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you like this, please like and subscribe. It really does help my channel out a whole lot. So have a good day, everybody. Let me know if you've seen this, if you like this movie, what your thoughts on it are. I'd love to hear from you. Again, even if we disagree, I think that that's perfectly fine. It still can make for some interesting conversations. So remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.